when he was governor of the RBI. Give our viewers some insights into what, according to you, made Dr. Manmohan Singh special in terms of his economic abilities, his...
Well, look, there's no doubt that he was a person of very high academic achievement, so his technical competence is not in doubt. I think he was also a person who, very gentle in approach and not at all authoritative, but he believed a lot in consulting people. I think he would work very well with people of very different personalities. And during his position as civil servant, that would be a very important thing. Because, if you're not able to work with other people, you're not really going to have much effect. Now, when he was a civil servant, obviously, he was working within the constraints of the policy that existed then. But I'm pretty sure that whenever he got a chance, he was moving the policy in the right direction. And I think he also, he didn't just go with the tide. I recall on one occasion, I wasn't there, but he told me about it, and it's well known to those who are familiar, that, in the 1970s, when there was a sharp rise in prices, early 70s, and there was a movement, there was a pressure from the Planning Commission that if you want to control inflation, maybe you want to nationalize the wheat trade. Because in those days, many economists thought that a rather simple way of controlling inflation is just to control price. And there was a meeting, he told me, where Mrs. Gandhi, as the Prime Minister, was presiding. She was very concerned about the high levels of inflation. And the Planning Commission people were saying that, look, the high level of inflation is really the high level of food prices, and we can bring this under control by nationalizing the wheat trade and thus keeping a lid on the wheat price. And, Dr. Manmohan Singh disagreed with this quite rightly. And he took the view that, look, if you really want to bring down inflation, you have to apply tight monetary controls. And he recommended that, you should do that, stricter availability of money, reduce a few benefits here and there, tighten expenditure, and so on. And Mr. Gandhi asked him that, look, do you really think if I do this, which was very different from what the Planning Commission was saying? So she asked him, do you think if I do this, inflation will come down? And he said, absolutely, madam. His advice was taken, and he was giving this advice against the view of more senior people in the Planning Commission. He was only chief economic advisor. And I think that actually gave Mrs. Gandhi a very high opinion of Dr. Singh as a technocrat. And I think obviously led to his further advancement. I think it's to the credit of Mr. Narasimha Rao that he picked him. Given that he was made the finance minister, he worked out with Mr. Narasimha Rao that, look, it's going to take a lot of tough actions if you're really going to bring this crisis under control. And I think he was basically saying to the finance prime minister that steps so that we test the market, as it were. Dr. Singh agreed because that's what the prime minister wanted. But then they went ahead and quickly did it in 2 steps and introduced many other reforms to bring the
US nuclear deal. In spite of the left front resistance to overcoming the hesitation of history, Singh's leadership shaped a defining chapter in India's modern diplomacy and coalition politics. Here's a closer look at the pivotal moments of his political journey.
To Information Act were rolled out in 2005. On the issue of national security, however, while Manmohan Singh explored the peace process with Pakistan and Hurriyat groups on Jammu Kashmir, but his summit in Washington in 2005. The tough stance that Dr. Singh took on the nuclear deal and for steering the country through the 2008 economic recession, UPA was rewarded in the next general elections.